And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're talking about the sheep race, which is surprisingly enough about racing sheep. And it actually comes with really cool sheep pieces in it. A lot of components in here. Let's set it up, let's take a look at it, and we'll talk about it. But first, let's throw it around. That the six sheep, the six sheep is sick. All right, let's try it again. The 6 sheep here are going to be running down this track. Each sheep is numbered. There's a number in the lane from 1 to 6, and you're going to put some random cards there at the top. Each sheep has a different country. For example, here's the sheep from Great Britain, and they have some cubes that are placed on them. This shows it shows in the top here. So he starts with 3 red cubes, a blue cube, and a white cube. It shows over here how far they walk, how far they basically run a little bit, and then at full speed, the number that they will run. And so there's each of these, and they're matched with a different number. You can also, the game comes with little flags that you can put in the end lane so you can remember which sheep is where. Each player has a handful of markers that are going to match the different numbers out there. Starting with one player, each player is going to openly bet on one of the sheep. So I might bet on sheep 2. And going around the table, each player has to make an open bet on a different sheep. Once that's done, players will simultaneously make 2 more bets on 2 other sheep, but those bets are secret. So therefore, you might be betting on the same sheep as everyone else, but at least one person has an investment in a different sheep. 2 dice then are going to be rolled. Now, one of these dice is a standard dice that is 1 through 6. The other die is 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. You're going to roll these dice in your turn, and that's going to tell you which sheep to move. So you can see that 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to favor high sheep, especially since it's possible to roll a 7. If you roll 7, sheep 6 moves. If you roll an 8, sheep 5 moves. If you roll a 9, the slowest sheep goes, the sheep that's farthest back, and if there's a tie, you go to the higher number. So the higher numbers certainly have an advantage. The difference basically being that when you roll the dice, there is a just slightly over 1/12 chance that the last sheep is going to go, and it's actually 5/36, but there is a 3/12 chance that sheep 6 is going to move. So you roll the dice. All right, so I roll, oh yay, sheep 1 is going to move. It's then my turn, so I get to pick how sheep 1 is going to move. So I take a look at his card, and I see that on his card here, he has 1 white cube and 4 blue cubes. Now, you can always make the sheep walk 1 and recover a blue cube. You get a blue cube back. That's how you get blue cubes back. Or you can make them rest and get 2 blue cubes back. Now, you can only do those 2 things if it won't bring them over 3 cubes at the end of a turn. So I can't do either of those right now. But I can make him move 3 and pay 1 blue cube. Or I can make him move 4, which costs a red cube, which he doesn't have any of, or 2 blue cubes. So obviously, if I move him 4, I'm moving him slower because it's faster than 3, but I've used up 2 of the blue cubes to do so. So I get to pick which of those I do. These white cubes are all over the place. White cubes are used as wilds. I could have used a white cube to make him move 3, or I could have used a white and a blue to make him move 4. So different colored cubes can be used for different things. Or I could have even used that white cube by itself to make him move 4, and basically said that the white cube was a red cube. So the different color cubes are on the sheep, and eventually you'll run out of cubes, and so you'll need to rest to get 2 blue cubes, or walk 1 and recover 1 blue cube. However, as the game progresses, you'll notice that here there's the end zone, which are all these spaces here. They have a different color grid background. When you're in one of those spots, you cannot rest and you cannot walk. So if that happens, if you're stuck in those and you run out of cubes, then the sheep is turned upside down in that spot, and they've basically collapsed from exhaustion, and they can't finish the race. Although they can still place, if enough sheep die of exhaustion or collapse from exhaustion, then the one that's farthest ahead will win. So you're going to keep going until you have 3 winners. So let's say 6, 1, and 3 are the winners of the race. And they come in first, second, and third. You'll put them down here at the bottom of the board. Players are then going to reveal their bets and score. There's a little scoring board here, and on this scoring board you can see that if you bet on sheep 6 and he gets in first place, you'll get 6 points. If I bet on sheep 1 and he gets second place, you will get 9 points. So players will move their point markers accordingly. And then they will, once that's finished, the 3 sheep that won, their cards are placed over in those winning positions, and you turn over the next card for each, because there's 12 different sheep in the game. You'll run another race, and then after you run that second race, you'll run a third race, the final race, in which the 3 winners from each race enter. And instead of using the 0, 1, 2, 3 die, you'll use the 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2 die. Now this still gives an advantage to the person in the 6th position, but much less so. And you also use a final thing, only the main winner will get you points in the final race. Now an entertaining thing about the game is the most points wins at the end of the game, but the score track goes over 100 points. You go up to 100, and then you can turn your markers over to 100 plus, but it is mathematically impossible to score that many points. The most points that you could score in the game is 66, I think. And that's, I don't think would ever happen. It would be sheer luck. So I looked online, and apparently they added this for some advanced rules that will show up later. But I think the way the races and the points are now is fine. All right, the sheep race has a mechanism in it that is not a new one, but it is one I love. And that is where you don't control a sheep, but instead you're betting on sheep to win. And you have essentially 50% chance of one of your sheep making it to the final line. And you even get bonus 1 or 2 points. That's not a very big bonus, but a bonus of a couple points if 2 of your sheep make it or all 3 of them make it. Now, the whole thing is a fun time. It's funny. The components are fantastic. It's funny as people are cheering, and you will deliberately try to set it up so that a sheep just falls apart at the end of the game. And so that works really well. The game is about just the right length, 45 minutes, 3 races, 15 minutes each. Sounds very reasonable, and it's easy to teach and play. The only hang up for some people will be the cube confusion. Whites are wild, reds can only be used to run, and then blues are used for everything else. The problem with the sheep race is, and this isn't a problem against the game per se, because if you came to me and I took this game and I took it out of context of the world in general, I would say it's a good game, I enjoy it, let's have fun. The problem is there's a lot of other games that do the same thing, and I think they do it in a better way. Horse racing games especially, Royal Turf would be the one that came to mind, where you don't own the horses but you're betting on them and moving them. In this game, the luck, it's just, you don't have that many choices. You roll dice and then you get to move a sheep, and sometimes you only have one way to move that sheep, and that's not very interesting. I think the game would have been much more interesting, because sheep can rest or walk, but they can only do so if they have less than 3 cubes, and so you can't do it most of the time, and then, I don't know. There's some moments where you can be like, ha ha ha, I messed the sheep over, but because the sheep you move is randomly rolled, your choices become much more limited. It's just, how do you move that sheep? And you can look at the sheep and say, I think that sheep is a little faster than this sheep, and what lane is it in, etc. But in the end, if you take a look at the game kind of without the rose-tinted glasses when you first play, you're like, ooh, you realize that your choices are a whole lot more limited. And the blue, white, red cube system, it's a little convoluted for the fact that it doesn't really produce that many interesting decisions. Now, this sounds like I'm giving the game a negative review, and I'm not. I think the game is fine. I think people are going to enjoy it. I think families are going to love it. But I just think that, as a gamer or someone who's watching this who likes these sorts of games, but if you specifically want to race sheep, get it. If you think it's cool and cute, good component-wise, get it. Other than that, I would say look for other racing games. There's a lot of horse racing games out there. There's also racing games about pigs and other things. And many of those games are better than this one. Now, I don't know what the advanced rules will do for this or how that will change it, but as it is, it's a cool, cute, fun family game. It's just not the best in its category.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
Shut the door.